Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, and we are looking at player props today on this Wednesday night NBA slate. We've been talking about it for a little bit now, but make sure you are staying on the lines.com, playpicks.com. Definitely a ton of changes with these COVID protocols, players in and out of those, in and out of the lineups, hours or even minutes before game time. Some changes here and there, so you do want to make sure that before you get those bets in, you know who is playing each and every game, and do like and subscribe to that page. We got a couple other videos up for you today, a couple other games, and Nate does have his great article up on playpicks.com with some of those best bets and player props. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or a DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area. So just what we've got for tonight with these player props. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, I think it's time to give LaMelo Ball his love here. He's been 5 games off the COVID list. And while he hasn't been putting up a ton of bulk production, 17.8 points, he's playing just 27 minutes per game in that span, but still very efficient, 114 offensive rating. And now he faces a Pacers team that will run and gun with you and that he's loved to play in 2 meetings this season, dropping over 30 points with 20 boards, 15 assists, going combined 11 for 18 from 3. And in his last 3 versus Indy, 32% usage rate. The Hornets as a team in their last 5 against the Pacers, averaging 116.5 points per game. This is a Pacers team that gives up the 4th most paint points at home, and recently is really struggling on the defensive end all over, giving up nearly 50% from the field and the 4th worst defensive rating at 119. So expect a lot of good props to be found on both sides of the ball in this one. Really kind of like the Hornets to win, though, at the plus odds on the money line. Talked about maybe considering them as a teaser to get them to +7 with another bet you like tonight, or getting LaMelo. His bulk production should be there, so I like 36.5 points, rebounds, assists. But if you like the Hornets to win as well, 20 points in a win is +250. And then that long shot bet, which did come through for Russ Westbrook in our props video last night, triple-double in a win, +1,700 for LaMelo. It's just double the odds of Westbrook because, he hasn't been playing quite that many minutes and going that hard on the boards.
Yeah, +17. What's wrong with a little $20 sprinkle on there for some serious return there? I think the triple double in a win, you can always hunt that for sure, and get some hits a couple times. You get insane return. But the only thing that makes me nervous is I hate betting on or against the Pacers because I just don't know which Pacers team is going to show up. So those ones with a win scares me a little bit, but that 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists, love getting the rebounds and assists in there with him always. So feel pretty good about that one tonight. Moving to a game that should have a ton of points. I think it's got the highest total for tonight, the Blazers and the Jazz. Looking at Bojan Bogdanovic for the Jazz specifically, as always want to eye someone who's playing against Portland, which is pretty much the worst defense in the league, per usual over the last 3 or 4 seasons. And the fact that Donnie Mitchell's not playing, you look at who's the next best scorer on this team. You can consider Jordan Clarkson, but I'm looking at Bojan just because, dating back to last season, he does lead them. And there's been 21 games where the Jazz have played without Donnie Mitchell. Bojan has played in those, averaging 22 points, 3.5 boards, about 2 assists a game. But I'm looking at his points tonight over 19.5, which gets you about -115 on FanDuel. I do think the Jazz are going to pull this out. So getting a little bit of juice with pretty much the same prop there, 20 points and a win for Bojan is +152, like that one as well. Just because, points for him, I think are going to be the name of the game tonight more than anything else, which is usually the case. But, sometimes he gets those ancillary stats more so tonight. I'm looking at points. He's got 22 plus in 5 of the Jazz's last 7 road games when Donnie Mitchell is out. So, on the road, Bojan stepping up and putting up points as well without Donnie Mitchell. And you look, like I said, the total in this game is about 228.5 because of how bad Portland is at D, giving up the highest opponent's 3-point percentage, the second highest field goal field goal percentage in general. And then if you consider Bojan a small forward, sometimes he plays that 4, but I don't really know what positions are anyway in the NBA anymore. It's such a fluid game. So either way, in terms of giving up points to opposing forwards and small forwards, that's where Portland gives up the most. We know they don't have much on the wing on defense. Robert Covington, he should be playing tonight, but still, he's going to be playing a little bit more down low, and he's actually been really, really bad this season. So I'm not too worried about.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Clarkson props are not up yet. I guess last night a fan got ejected for heckling him, but he was not ejected. He was stopped by his teammates from going over there and having some stronger words for him. But I don't think there's any reason we don't expect him to play tonight. It's just a question of what his points prop is at. His usage rate should be insane off the bench against this Portland team that really struggles to stop guards. But the Bogdanovic pick is also right on point because the Blazers are the worst 3-point defense in the league. So, yeah, along with the points in a win, you can get 4 threes in a win at about plus 250 here. And Bogey is just one of the most consistent 3-point shooters out there. So love that.
Yep.
Looking at the Celtics and Clippers, both very inconsistent teams, but with Paul George and Reggie Jackson out and Marcus Morris back off the COVID list, it's hard to expect anything less than, 18, 20 points from Mook. And his prop opens here at 14.5 at DraftKings. Seems very low. It might adjust at some point here, but it's a guy who's dropped 24 points exactly in 3 straight games. He played just 27 minutes against a good Nets defense in his return and still got those 24 points. The Celtics are not a very good defense. They're without Jason Tatum now. I mean, it depends on which night, but no Jason Tatum, no Dennis Schroeder, probably no Marcus Smart. This is a slight revenge game for Marcus Morris, who's averaging about 16 points per game on elevated splits, 45, 45, 86 in 6 matchups with Boston since he left that team. And his usage rate was below 20% in those games. Well, now when he's got 27% usage rate his last 3, it goes up to about 26% when both Reggie and Paul George are out. On this Clippers team, there's just nobody else to score in the mid-range for them. No really other good jump shooters at all. So I expect him to be chucking tonight and probably get over this pretty comfortably.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I love the Mook revenge. And anytime we can get a guy playing against his former team where he shows good numbers like this, I feel good about it. That 14.5 is just too low. That's just plain and simple. As you mentioned, when Marcus Morris is playing this season without, the key offensive guys for LA including Reggie Jackson and Paul George. This is the third option anyway, right? And sort of the small ball 5 who stretches things and hits threes when he's got a good matchup with opposing bigs. So really like that against a Boston team that I also don't trust in pretty much any situation right now. So last one for me here, Nate. I'm looking at the Spurs, and they are. Sorry, who are they taking on already? I already forgot. Spurs and Miami. That's right. But they are at home. Miami, second leg of the back-to-back. We don't know who's necessarily going to be playing for them, as Jimmy Butler did come back in their win last night, but not sure if he's going to be in that one yet. So we don't actually have any props up for Miami, but we know Keldon Johnson is going to be playing at home for the Spurs without DeJounte Murray, which is why I'm eyeing his 15.5 points, which feels really low tonight, considering, when DeJounte doesn't play in the last couple seasons, we're talking about Keldon Johnson being the guy that steps up and adds to average about 20 points a game in that time, and six boards as well. In 29 minutes a game without DeJounte and on about a 20% usage rate. His usage rate actually doesn't change too much when DeJounte's in or out, but his points obviously go up because DeJounte's as much as he's there to distribute, he also does put up points, as he's averaging about 20 a game this year. So I think, Miami, obviously we know they are a good defense, but that's usually predicated on having Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, who's been out for about 13 games now, 14 games that he's missed in a row. Since he left, their defensive rating unsurprisingly dropped from about 3rd in the league to 10th in the league. So still pretty good, but not the sort of terror that it is when Bam's in there. And the Spurs, like I said, at home is where I like to take them. They drop way more points at home, as we know at this point, about 8 more points a game at home. They play at the number 1 pace in the league. They've actually picked it up on the road, but at home they've always played at the highest pace in the league all season long. So I think 16 points for Keldon Johnson, getting -115 on my money. Feel really good about that with a lack of scores around him tonight with DeJounte out.
Yeah, I mean, even before DeJounte went out, he's averaging 18 in his last 8 games and suddenly becoming a three-point shooter. I didn't realize this, shooting nearly 54% from deep, hitting 2.6 triples, and he's a plus 48 over those 8 games. So hard for Popovich to keep him off the floor tonight.
Yeah.
Against the Heat team that's athletic on the wing, especially if Jimmy Butler's back. Keldon will be guarding him and going right back at him at the other end.
100%. Yeah. Still waiting for Keldon to break out a little bit. We might be seeing his ceiling still, but either way, he's a little bit better when we know that he's more of a primary scorer. So that is all the time we have for this one. Make sure you guys are liked and subscribed to that page. Check out those other couple of videos we have on this pretty nice big Wednesday night slate. And do check out the playpicks.com and the lines.com to make sure you're seeing who's in and out of those lineups all the way up to tip off. And until we see you next, happy betting.